Define for our audience, what is co-living?
Co-living basically is when you turn a single family home and you split the family room, the living room, dining room, all the rooms, you can turn it into bedrooms and then you rent out by the room.
What are the top factors you consider when determining if a market is appropriate for co-living?
So many aspects. First,
Welcome to Nursing Real Wealth. This week, we're excited to have Alexis Jimenez on the show. Alexis is a multi-family investor, entrepreneur, who successfully turned a $2,000 startup company into a seven-figure company with operations in 27 countries. His expertise now extends into the co-living and hotel industries, making him a valuable source of insights and inspiration. Alexis, welcome to the show.
thank you, Justin. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Can you share some more about your background and how you got started into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so basically, I was a sales director in a company back in Puerto Rico. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and long story short, I was full commission. So at the time, I was 23 years old. I was making maybe $8,000 every month in commission. It was full commission based. Never had a payroll at the time, and I was engaged with my wife. I was about to get married in 3 months, and then suddenly something happened in the economy that from 1 month to the next one, my commission dropped down to $500. So imagine being engaged and then being making like $8,000 per month, and then suddenly the next month $500 per month. So that was a hit, and my wife used to work for a multinational company. She was the financial analyst in the finance department. So I got this vision that, what if we mix up, the experience that I have in sales and the experience that you have in finance, and what if we start a company that probably is going to be a recession-proof company? So without knowing anything about technology, we decided to jump into the tech world just because, I thought that at the time, I thought that technology, it was a recession-proof base industry. And it's kind of is, but you have to, evolve over time anyway. So we decided to jump in. We started the business only with $2,000. We didn't have capital. We did it only with $2,000 in credit card. Actually, it wasn't liquid, and we started the business. We first year we made $60,000. The next year, $180,000. Then I think that it was 680, and then the fourth year we hit the first $1 million. And I was making money, and that's one of the things. In 2012. Um, I was making money, and I had one of the problems that business owners face, or people, that they have high income or provide high income to the household, and is that when you're making money, you have to pay a lot of taxes, right? So I was looking for a tool or a way to offset that legally, and then I found about real estate. I read the Purple Bible from Robert Kiyosaki, and that book, changed my life. And I jumped in immediately. I bought my first property in Tampa, Florida, in 2012. I paid $46,000. I put in rehab $6,000, and I remember that I bought that property with a Harmony lender or Harmony loan, and but it was amortized for 30 years, and I was paying like $400 per month, and I remember renting that house for 950. So I was, making some decent percentage. And then it was 3 years later, I sold the property for 75,000. That I really regret doing that, and that's, I never understood that at the time, but a couple of years later, I understood that real estate is a long term game. I know that people like, to fix and flip, or maybe hold the property for a couple of years and then sell it. For me, it doesn't make sense because at the end, you aren't recognizing a profit that you should recognize if you keep the property in your portfolio, right? That property now in 2024 worth $300,000. And it's not the first time that happened to me. I can tell you many stories that I regret because if I count them all, probably I will have in my portfolio and just in equity more than $2 or $3 million. So lesson learned: never sell your properties.
Yeah, there you go. Or at least if you're a fix and flipper, keep a few, if you, yeah, goodness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I fix a flip a lot, but yeah, definitely something that I don't want to do. I prefer to keep the property in my portfolio.
Yeah. Um, so obviously it seems like your seven figure business really took off. But what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in building that company, and how did you overcome those?
So one of the challenges that I had is that now the business, we have three operations. We have the operation in Puerto Rico. We still have that operation, and we have another one in Miami, and we have a team in Colombia, in Latin America. But before that, a couple of years ago, I would say maybe before 2019, we were struggling with human resources. What happened in Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico is a commonwealth. It's a territory of the United States, right? But the income per capita in Puerto Rico, it's, I would say, it's by far less than the income or the average income per capita here in the US. So what happened in Puerto Rico, and it's still happening actually, is that people graduate from college, and it's easy, to jump into the United States and get a job with a high, salary. Just to give a reference, an average accountant in a multinational company in Puerto Rico, maybe the annual payroll is around $30,000, maybe between $30,000 to $40,000. We're here in the U.S. across the nation. I know, that's going to depend on the city, but on average, an accountant could get maybe between $70,000 to $90,000 per year. So what people is doing in Puerto Rico, it's very easy for them to get into the U.S. market and get a better payroll with better benefits and a better standard of life. So we struggled with human resources for many years until I had this lady that I hired her. She is Colombian, but she was in Puerto Rico. She got married with this Puerto Rican guy, and she noticed that, and she told me, "Hey, why you aren't hiring more people?" And I told her, I'm trying, but it's very difficult because of the situation. I explained her, and then she suddenly told me, "What if I can help you? To hire people from my country, from Colombia. These people, they are very professional. The salary or payroll is more cheaper compared than in the US, and you will have more quality human resource." And I was like kind of skeptical, to be honest, but I decided to jump in because I didn't have any other option. I was struggling for many 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 years, and it's been one of my the best decision that I ever made. And now I have a team. I have like 12 employees in Colombia, and they're engineers, developers, accountant, very, very high-end professional people. And after that, my business exploded. The combination of that and the combination of that in 2017, Goldman Sachs, they sponsored our business to do a business degree in Babson College. Those two aspects caused that my business exploded, and now we're doing business in 27 countries.
What, if any, key lessons did you take away from that experience of building the business and scaling it successfully? And what, if any, of those lessons learned will you be applying to your real estate?
I think that intentionality is one of them because I think that I waited for many years to make a decision like that one. I never thought about Colombia, but in the past, I thought about, not thought, but heard about the Philippines or other countries, right? I have heard good things about people in Egypt, for example. But I think that maybe, no, I don't know, maybe so many thoughts, so many doubts, maybe fears at the time. I think that we have to be intentional and face those fears and break them up and continue, because at the end, I could have done that before maybe, and not struggle with many years. And the other thing is that this is a globalized world. We are, don't think that the whatever you guys are listening this podcast from, your country that you're in is not the only place to hire people. Now, with with Zooms, with all the tools that we have, with technology, we can hire people from all over the world. And there is so many good people, professional people in so many countries, that we shouldn't be relying on the territory where the business is in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even just on the topic of real estate, with virtual assistants, it's very, very common to go and use virtual assistants. I've got family in the Philippines that has actually considered becoming a virtual assistant because it's still better pay than anything else you can get, but it's so cheap for us to be able to go and pay for that.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it's a win-win situation for both. Because now that reminds me, when I got involved in Colombia, and I started to do that with a recruitment company, a company that does that for us, or for me in that case. I remember when they were telling me I needed the first person that I needed to hire. It was an engineer, and when they told me the amount in pesos, Colombian pesos. But then when I did the exchange in US dollars, I was like, oh my God, I want three or four of them. So what if we pay them above the average
Right.
salary? And they were like surprised. Why this guy would do that? And I was like, for us it's cheap, but for them it's gonna be better. And at the same time, I can attract the best talents. And that's
Absolutely.
what we did. That's what we did. I built my team in less than a year, a dream team, to be honest, a dream team, paying them the best salaries in the country. And for us, it was cheaper.
Yeah. I'll give you, for instance, just firsthand for what that looks like for virtual, at least with the Philippines. I know that I've got family there who makes anywhere from $3 to $5 a day,
Hmm.
and in conversion. And my sister in law was looking at becoming a virtual assistant, and it would have been closer to $5 an hour
Wow.
for her. So imagine making that difference in income.
Y-
That's life changing
Yeah,
for them.
it's life changing for them, and for us, it's nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Think international.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so I think you kind of alluded to what motivated you to get into the real estate space, but were there other motivations that, besides looking for a vehicle to be able to offset some of your taxes, that brought you into this space of real estate?
Yeah, definitely. At the time, I mean, that was 2012. The business, I was in business for maybe 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. But I didn't understand business valuations at the time. But I felt that I wasn't building something solid. I was building something based on profit and loss statements. You know what I mean? It wasn't something maybe tangible. And and I wanted to create wealth. That was another motivation. Over time, I understood that the business, you can sell a business. It's tradable. You can sell shares. You can, the business has a valuation. But even so, the other day I heard Cody Sanchez saying that only 10% of the business that are listed are the ones that the owner can sell the business, which is interesting because the liquidity is not, it doesn't compare with the liquidity that we have in the real estate market. You list a property and immediately you can sell the property in less than a month on average, right? But sometimes a business take time, sometimes take years, and sometimes 90% of the listed business won't sell. So it's not the same liquidity. So I think that the combination of real estate is a good combination to have because I can create wealth, long-term wealth, and I see my business like the money making machine, and then I can invest the money that I make in my business into real estate and create wealth along the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. No, that's good strategy. That's a component of my journey that I hope to achieve here over the next few years. So, um, are there elements of building your seven figure company that have really influenced your approach to real estate? Um, and in what ways, if any, do you find them similar?
Not in single family, but when I joined multifamily, that was in 2022. The first time that I went to a multifamily event, it was because our mentor, Pace Morby, he invited us. He was one of the speakers, but he was speaking about single family homes, overall in general. But the event was about multifamily, and all the speakers, they brought in information about multifamily. And for me, when I heard about concepts like profit and loss, balance sheet, budgeting, employees, I was like, wait a second. So this is multifamily. I thought that buying a multifamily asset, it was the same way that we buy a single family asset, but it's not. It's literally a business. I mean, you're buying a property, right? You're buying an asset, but you're buying a business. And that resonated with me a lot, to the point that I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect business, because I'm going to be involved in something that, I really love, or I have passion about businesses, but also I have passion about real estate. So this is the perfect combination of both. And that was when, answering your question, that was, the perfect time for me to decided to jump in multifamily, because I wanted to exploit what I learned in business, but in something that is real estate based, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. Yeah, I, I, I can definitely see that parallel. That's great. Um, you're now investing primarily also in co-living and the hotel industry. Um, First of all, would you define for our audience what is co-living, and what aspects of this sector do you find particularly appealing or important for your investment portfolio?
Yeah, I think that, well, let me explain what co-living is and then why. So co-living basically is when you turn a single family home and you split the rooms, or maybe you add rooms to the house. Maybe you turn the dining room, the living room, or other spaces, except the kitchen and the bathroom. Those aren't the only the places that you can turn into rooms. But the family room, the living room, dining room, all the rooms you can turn it into bedrooms, and then you rent out by the room. That's basically co-living. The reason why I'm exploring this avenue right now is because, well, when you learn creative finance, the average entry fee on a sub to deal is $30,000. So if you do the math, and then in the co-living, let me do a rough calculation here. So the average monthly rent per room in a co-living, it's $800 per month. So if you multiply that times 10, let's say that you have 10 rooms in the same house, basically you're grossing $8,000. So the average PITI on a sub to deal is between $2,000 to $3,000. So let's say on average 2,500. So then you subtract, utilities, other expenses. Let's say that you're netting $4,000 per month. So if you entry cost on a sub to deal was $30,000, and you divide that for by $4,000. Basically, in a month, let's say worst case scenario, in a year, you can get your money back. So it's a cash cow business. Of course, this is something that has to be on a sub to deal because you can do that, traditionally, but it will take more time, to get your money back. That's one. And then secondly, because of the interest rate is higher, your cash flow is not going to be the same one as a sub to deal. In my case, I'm not buying deals that has more than 5% on the current loan interest rate, and the average entry cost between 30 to 40,000. I try to stick between 30 to 40,000. And or the best way for me to explain it, I won't pay more than 10% out of the purchase price entry cost. So that's why it's a cash cow business. And on top of that, you have the depreciation because you still have the 27 and a half years, uh, tax write off. Then real estate, we all know that real estate appreciate over time in value. And then principal down. So anytime that we make a payment, towards the mortgage, we're downsizing the principal. So essentially, we're creating a gap in our favor between the appreciation and the principal mortgage balance, which at the end, we have higher return of investment when we combine all of them, the cash flow, the tax appreciation, and principal down.
Yeah. On one of these kinds of properties, what is the typical, I don't know, construction budget for converting into the co-living?
On average, and it's not all
Yeah.
construction, it's including the furnitures, between 15 to $20,000.
15 to 20. That's not
Yeah,
that's not as much as I thought it would be. Wow.
no, 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 because well, you have to be smart as well. Because in my case, in my buy box, I'm buying only properties that has by default 4 rooms. So now you know that minimum the dining room and the living room. Yeah, now you can count, with 2 extra rooms. And exactly. And another aspect that I'm looking at is the square footage. It has to be 2,500 or more because in most cases, the living room is big enough to split it in 2 rooms. So now we have 7 rooms. Then usually houses, with this size has like a family room or another room. Now you have 8 rooms, sometimes 9. You can split it in 2 rooms. So now you're counting when you are targeting these type of properties. The only thing that you need to take in consideration is the dry walls to split, the living room, the dining room, and most of these rooms require only 1 or 2 walls because the house already has, the walls that were built by the developer, right? And so it's only maybe on average $6,000 to $8,000 in drywall. Then the rest of the budget is for furniture.
Wow. That's awesome. That is definitely less than I thought it would be. That's great
Yeah,
though. So you
yeah.
could be all in for, um, you know, anywhere from, if your typical entry fee is looking at 30 to $40,000, then you could be in for, anywhere from like what, 60 to $80,000, give or take.
On average, between 50 to 80, depend on
50
the
to 80.
entry on the deal. Yeah, but between 50 to 80.
Nice. Cool. And
And
do
the
you
cash on
typically,
cash usually is between 50. The worst cases that I have seen, the cash on cash is 25-30%. The best one I have seen 80-90% cash on cash, which is crazy.
dang, that's pretty good. Uh, So for these deals, do you typically bring in some like a private money lender or a private money partner to fund that entry for you?
Yes, depend on the area, but overall the answer is yes. I have capital. My business is, making money with my business, but money is not unlimited, right? At some point, uh, and this is very very common in real estate. At some point you run out of money, and then what I do, I bring a PMP, a private money partner, I don't like to bring PML, even that I can do it, but I don't like it because this is a long-term game. It's not a fix and flip that you can get your money back in a couple of months. And I prefer to bring a PMP. That way, the private money partner, he or she will have the same benefits: the cash flow, the principal down, the appreciation, and the depreciation as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in on a lot of sub two deals, private money lending is really not the most secure because we're talking low equity. Plus, we've just added a little bit of rehab, which I guess theoretically may have forced the value of the property, but it's a very specialized property then, so a little bit different. So yeah, as a lending opportunity, it's less secure. As a private money partnership, you're at least sharing risk, sharing benefit.
Yes, that's 100% true, and that's another reason why I prefer to bring a PMP. There's two aspects in that comment. I did well. Let me tell you something. I did a sub to deal recently where I was supposed to use a PMP because of this, situation or the same topic that we're talking here. But in that case, I had cash, so I brought the PML, knowing that I had the cash as a backup plan in case I needed to use my own savings accounts, to turn his money back. But overall, I think that PMP is safer because, as you mentioned, when the PMP, even if we're buying a no equity deal, that just because the principal, every payment that we're making towards principal is going down, we are building equity, the first month of the deal, right? And even that, we're not going to sell the deal in a couple of months. The idea is to keep the deal for maybe 3, 4, 5 years. But that makes the private money partner safe because just paying the mortgage will build in equity. And if we add the depreciation, tax depreciation, and if we add the appreciation over time, it's a safe business, even that the property doesn't have equity at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, cool. How do you predict these investments will perform in the future, given the current trends and market in the market conditions?
So what I'm doing, that most operators, they when they're pitching other investors, they said, they create a pitch deck, and at the end they said, well, the deal, provides 20% cash on cash, for example. And that's true, but they don't tell other aspects that for me are important. When I do my underwriting, I use the cash on cash, the principal down again, and the tax depreciation. But also, I'm using AI. So one of the things that I'm using right now with AI is, let's say that the deal it comes from, let's say, Dallas, Texas, for example. So one of the things that I'm doing is that I ask the AI, okay, so what's the average appreciation percentage per year in the last 5 years on the single family homes in this particular zip code? And then the AI, he's going to bring all the average percentage per year. So at the end, I get an average, and most of the time, I think that Dallas is bringing right now like 4% on average. There was years that the appreciation was like 10%, and others like 2023 that it was only, I think, 1 or 2%. But on average, it's like 4%. So I add that up, and then when I do my underwriting, I'm taking everything in consideration: the cash on cash, the appreciation, depreciation, and the forecast. It's a forecast. We can predict the future, right? But the forecast appreciation based on what happened in the last 5 years. So when I bring that up to the investor, most of the time, and I will say more than 90% of the time, they see that they can get their money back in 1 year. It's not literally money tangible, but it's between the combination of the income that they're receiving every month and what they are creating on paper, right, on asset. But at the end, you're getting your money back in 1 or 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotcha. What do you think demand like this for this type of an asset will be down the road as well? So we continue to see that housing affordability is a struggle for especially certain areas, very highly populated areas. What do you think the trend will be there in regard to pad split? Do you think this will become an even more common model, or co-living, I should say, because it's not
Yes.
exclusive to just pad split?
Yeah, yeah, especially in large cities. Something that I have been realizing, I travel a lot because of my IT company, right? And I used to travel. I mean, I've been traveling for years, but I have seen like a before and after when COVID hit. Um, my what I have seen is a pattern after COVID hit, a pattern of people working remotely and people not buying houses, especially people that that are single without kids, and we call them nomads, right? And it's very common, and especially in large cities. So I think that this is a trend, and now not only COVID, but the combination of a lot of opportunities to work remotely in different industries. Now we have AI. I think that we're living now what we live in the 90s with the internet. After a couple of years later, new companies were created because of the internet, like Amazon, eBay, Apple, other ones, right? So I think that AI will create new companies in the next couple of years, and that created new uh, lifestyles of the way that we're going to work, especially remotely. Now, I remember back in the days, I mean, before 2020, we were using Zoom calls, but it wasn't like a trend, right? Everybody was making calls over the phone.
Not definitely not
So
the standard. Yeah, right.
it wasn't the standard, right? Now it's become a standard. Everybody's making call on Zoom calls. I use nowadays, I use Zoom more than my regular phone. So that tells you clearly that Padsplit is going to be something very common, and is trending right now.
What are the most common markets, or are there some top markets for co-living? Obviously, I'm not aware of really any co-living in the space I live. I live in a very small community, so there's not a lot of demand. And it took me entering into Sub 2 and Gator to become aware that this was a trend in certain areas. What are the hot markets for this kind of um, real estate?
So I have been studying Padsplit particularly in the last 6 months, and co-living is a model that existed for years. I think that what they're doing is they're creating a business model around it, the same way that Airbnb created a business model around the B&B model that existed for many years as well. And so because of that, I think that nowadays it's not going to be so simple to list a property as an Airbnb without using Airbnb. It's going to be tough, for the operator. I think that because of the same concept, it's going to be easier to use Split instead of using or creating your own co-living space without using Split as a marketing company. So because of that, I'm using their map, and in their map you can see the hottest market in the country, and now they are very popular in Phoenix, Las Vegas, Dallas, Houston, Austin, Texas, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville. They opened recently Charlotte in North Carolina. And so, yeah, so basically those are the hottest market. I think that there's other cities as well, I think in Kansas, but I haven't put too much attention into it. But these are the hottest market right now, especially with their platform.
Yeah, that's awesome. I noticed there were no northern cities, no places around me.
No, I have tried, and there's people doing it. There's other website, but this is on your own, without.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like my best analogy is like trying to lease a property as a BNB without using Airbnb. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. Well, I think everybody's moving out of Michigan and Illinois anyway. So, everybody's moving south. I'll be moving south someday soon.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Yeah. What what are the top factors you consider when determining if a market is appropriate for co-living for yourself?
So many aspects. Well, first, I'm using their platform, right? There's no doubt. As I mentioned before, I have to see. Actually, I'm receiving deals every day, and the first thing that I see is, well, first of all, the deal. I don't want an HOA. That's the first uh, aspect. I don't want to deal with that, and I know that it's gonna be a headache, right? But also, I'm seeing also other aspects like the map. It has to be. Well, I was saying that I'm getting deals every month, every day. So the first thing that I do is let me see if the property doesn't have an HOA, and then let me copy paste the zip code. Let me paste it into Padsplit map and see if they have presence in that market. But also, let's say that they have presence. The other aspect that I see is how is the population growth in that city? It's been growing, it's been decreasing. The vacancy rate is the same, it's been increasing or decreasing. Another aspect is the median household income and the average rent in the area. For me, it has to be at least 3x, or three times the median household income has to be three times the average rent in the area. And the other aspect that I see is the unemployment rate. Remember back in the days in Detroit, I remember going back, flying to Detroit in 2008. Man, it was crazy. It was kind of like a gold city. And I use Detroit as an example because now Detroit is a beautiful city. It's booming. We see some activities, but it's all based on the employers, right? Who are the companies that are employing and creating the economy in the city? So, using that as an example, we want to see the same activities in the economy in that this particular city that we want to invest in. Is the unemployment rate increasing or decreasing? And the other aspect that I see is how many renters are in the city versus owner occupy, or people that prefer to buy a house. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I don't see the particular percentage in that ratio. But for example, if I see more renters that owners occupy, or for me, is a good, it's a good check mark. It's a good point to invest in that city.
So, say that last part again. I'm sorry. So if there's more, say, what was it about renters and owner occupied or whatever?
Yeah, there's some cities, for example, Miami. I think that's San Francisco as well, and there's others. When you see the amount of people preferring to rent instead of buying home, you see more renters that people that buy their houses for as a household, as a homestead. I'm sorry, as a homestead. So that's a good point. If it is the other way, I don't mind. But if I see more renters that people buying, for me, it's a very, very good, attractive city to invest in.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So there's demand for housing, but they can't afford to buy, basically, and so there's
Yes.
opportunity to provide more affordable solutions.
Yes, just to give you an example, and maybe this is going to explain much better. I have a friend that I met in Subto. He owns like 54, 55. Well, it was Airbnb before, and when the Airbnb market shifted because of the regulation, he was struggling, and he told me I was bleeding, man. But he turned them all into co-living space in San Francisco, and he said, "Man, I'm killing it right now. I'm making a lot of money." So the demand is there, and but it's the demand for rental instead of buying homes.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the most common demographic of co-living too that you're seeing? And do you separate? I mean, I feel like this is a question that I would have is do you separate by age or gender or anything like that? That, is it like a girl home or a guy home or an elderly, couples home or whatever? How do you handle that scenario of people
That
sharing that space?
that's a great question. No one asked me that before, but I think that is a great question. But I think that the answer, I personally, I don't mind, and the reason why is because I won't mind though if I were to do it by myself, but because I'm using Padsplit, they take care of everything. They do the marketing, they do the tenant screening. They also have a 24/7. They have a name. I don't remember the name, but it's kind of like a mentally support, customer support type of thing. That the tenant, if they're struggling, if they're fighting, or whatever the situation is happening in the house, they can handle that situation 24/7. The only thing that they don't handle is the asset itself. So we are responsible to replace the toilet or replace the pipes or whatever breaks up, but for that we use a property management company. And what I do is because PadSplit is handling 95% of the business, and the other 5% basically is the asset itself. And if we are buying like assets that they were built in 2020, 2022, these are new assets. I i got to a negotiation with the property management company that we had a like a flat fee, monthly flat fee. So basically we're paying them a $95 per month, and they handle everything because it's not something that you need them like every month. Basically Passport, they're doing the 95% of the job, and that's why they're charging only $95 flat fee in case something breaks up.
I'm not sure if I know exactly how to ask this question, but I'm curious what helps you determine that. I mean, obviously, we've looked at demographics, we've looked at, a higher amount of renters to owners, but are there any other elements that are really important to consider about the actual home itself besides square footage that would tell you the viability of that home becoming a really profitable co-living space? I guess I could imagine some people, maybe um, looking up a home and getting all excited and throwing 15,000 into the rehab and outfitting it with furniture, and dang, there's no demand. Um, is it really as simple as looking at those demographics that you pointed out earlier, or are there other aspects to the house itself? I don't know, appearance, neighborhood. What are some other components that are really important for a co-living to be successful?
Yeah, I think that the economics components that we discuss, it's something that I do. Uh, I study macroeconomics, so I know that the economics in a city is the foundation for any type of investment. I'm not sure that everybody else is doing this, but answering your question, something that is very important: the property has to be close to a train station or maybe a bus station, or near downtown, or near where an area where there's a lot of companies hiring people, because the lifestyle that these people is living is basically they're working 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day. They are married, they don't have kids, basically, and that's the reason why they prefer to rent a room and not the entire house. Because if they rent the entire house, basically they're paying 25, $3,000 per month in rent when they are not going to use the entire house. Rather than that, they prefer, to rent only the room, where they're going to pay between 800 to $1,000, depending on the area, and they're going to sleep they're going to use the house or the room only to sleep every day, and that's it. But these people, they work so hard and basically work is their life. So you need to provide a house close to the area that where they're going to work in.
Gotcha. Yeah. And they're also saving on other expenses, not only just rent, but you guys cover the utilities, correct? Similar
That's
to like
true.
Airbnb.
Yeah,
And you cover also like lawn management and things like that, right? It's not like
yeah,
the guy in room one takes care of the lawn and the guy in room two takes care of the trash.
yeah,
You
yeah.
guys take care of all of that.
Everything is covered. The insurance, the taxes, the landscape, as you mentioned, utilities. So basically, they're paying just the room.
Yeah. So it's a pretty sweet deal for anybody who's just starting out
Oh yeah,
in their career, in their life. Yeah.
yeah. And talking about nomads or the trend that we have seen recently, these people they don't have to rent or get locked up on a contract for a year. They can do 30 months. I mean 30 days, 2 months, 3 months. And people that they would like to live maybe 1 month in LA, then they moved out to Orlando for 2 months and so on, and they continue. It's a good lifestyle model for these type of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we're seeing that a lot more with even my generation, but the generation right after me,
Yeah,
they're doing a lot more of this sort of nomad lifestyle for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what, if any, risks or drawbacks exist in this investment strategy of co-living?
One of the risks that I have seen is to get into a co-living, or let's say buy a house, do the investment, the drywall, the furniture, and everything, and then get a letter from the HOA. So stay away from HOA. I think that that's one of the riskier uh, aspect in the business. And the other thing is that it has to be on a market that Padsplit is already doing business in. Because one of the things that I really like the most about them is that, for example, when I copy paste the zip code to see if that deal has activities on that zip code, you see immediately on their web, you see how many units they have active, how many coming up units they have, and also you see the average, usually days they take to get at least one tenant, and the amount of days, sometimes weeks, but it's very rare to see more than a month. Uh, how many days or weeks they take to reach the 80% occupancy rate, which is sometimes 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So when you're seeing that those stats, that makes you feel comfortable because you have a team that is backing you up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, and I want to get into this hoteling industry that you're getting into. And when you say hoteling, are you talking about very traditional, just running a hotel, or are we talking about? I've heard some people talk about like this luxury hoteling that people are getting into, or what do they call it? Boutique
Small
hotels.
boutique hotel, yeah. So basically small. I don't want to get involved in something huge for many reasons. The idea is to have a combination of the Airbnb model, that, like, the self check-in model, and but in a small boutique hotel. So now, because if you have, let's say, 20, 30, 40 rooms, you will need employees, right? But let's say if you have only maybe 7, 8 rooms, maybe 10 maximum, you can do the self check-in model, right? And that's what I'm getting involved with. Everything started because, as I mentioned before, I'm from Puerto Rico, and the hospitality industry in Puerto Rico is booming. Why? Many things happening in Puerto Rico. Um, well, for many years, there is the government created the Act 60. So basically, the Act 60 is an umbrella of different tax incentives. And in the hotel industry, there's three particularly. There's more, but there's three that everybody love it. And basically, let me try to explain this very simple. The first one is the Act 74, that it says that, let's say that we buy, I'm going to use simple numbers, to make the example very simple. But let's say that we buy the hotel or the building distressed, totally distressed for $1 million, right? Now we put, let's say, $700,000 in repairs. So now we are at 1.7. And then the first year of operations expenses is 300,000. Now we're all in between purchase price, rehab cost, and the first year of expenses. We're all into $2 million, right? So what the government is doing with the Act 74, the government says, okay, no problem, because you are creating or feeding the economy. I'll give you back 40% on a tax credit. So basically, we're getting back $800,000 out of the 2 million. So what's interesting is that you can either use that on your business income tax, or you can sell it on the market because it's tradable. Because this is an incentive that only works in the hospitality industry, and Puerto Rico is packed of a lot of multinational companies like Hewlett Packard, for example, Amgen, Pfizer. These multinational companies, they are in Puerto Rico, and not only them, small businesses as well. They pay taxes. So what happened is that you can sell them these at 90 or 90 95 cents of the dollar and get immediately a cash injection to the business. So let's say if I have a tax credit of $800,000, using that example, maybe I can sell it for $700,000 and get a cash injection in the business of $700,000 immediately after the first or 1 or 2 years. So that's one. The other thing is that the business itself paid only a 4% tax bracket, and the owners, they don't pay taxes. Basically, you are exempt of capital gain and tax dividend as well. So basically, Puerto Rico became a tax haven right now, and what it's causing is that a lot of people are buying, especially from here from the U.S. There's people across the world buying in Puerto Rico, but most of them are from here from the U.S. buying in Puerto Rico everything they can, and because you get these benefits. So that's what happened in Puerto Rico, and that's why I want to invest in the hospitality industry in Puerto Rico. Something else, the government approved the permits to Hard Rock Cafe. They're going to build the first Hard Rock hotel in Puerto Rico. It's a $500 million investment. Also, the Hilton, they have presence in Puerto Rico for many years. I think that they have only 3 or 4 hotels in Puerto Rico, but because of what is happening, they said that in the next 2 years, 2024 and 2025, they're going to build 10 new Hilton hotels. So again, the hospitality industry is crazy right now in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I've talked with. Are you familiar with Zoe Guzman about
Oh
that?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Zoe's working on all of that as well. He's very interested in Puerto Rico. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
He told me, and he said, come with me. We're gonna do it. We're gonna make it. And actually, I've been working on that for the last year. I had 2 deals. I needed to let it go because I was looking because I'm gonna raise capital for this, hotel. And for me, I want to give the incentives to the investor. And these 2 deals that I had didn't qualify for the incentives, so I needed to let them go.
Well, that's awesome. I would love to do a whole session just on the boutique full hotel thing because that's an area I want to learn a little bit more about. That's really cool.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Um, so for new investors, getting started in real estate, what advice would you give them based on your own experience, both successes and failures?
Well, first of all, don't get involved in the tiny object syndrome. I think that everybody's going through the same situation. But I think that it's because people usually they don't take the time to understand or maybe analyze what's the season in life that you're in right now. So if you are in your 20s, you don't have kids, you're married, it's very different, right? But than a person that maybe is 40 years old, maybe he has kids, has a wife or a husband. And also, you have to identify if you have time, if you don't have time, if you have capital, if you don't have capital. And then, based on the season that you're in, start the strategy or the journey that adapt the best to your reality. So because I see many people that they have capital but they don't have time to get involved in real estate. So I think that the best strategy for those is to do PMP, do PML, or any other type of investment, right? But I see the other side of the coin. I see people with no money but they are very very good operators. So partner up with other people that have money, and I see people that they have both. They have time, they have capital, so for them it's easier. They can invest right away. But anyway, answering the question, I think that you need to recognize, analyze, and see what's the season that you're in, and based on that, start your journey. With the right strategy.
Hmm. Hmm. What are some common pitfalls or mistakes that you've seen a lot of new investors make, and how could they be avoided?
I see, unfortunately, I see people not dating. I see people jumping in partnerships without knowing that person, without knowing their background, without knowing their core values. For me, core values is one of the most important aspects. When someone has his or her core values very defined, that person, money won't shake that person, and that person will do whatever it takes to make things happen, especially if there's a partnership involved, especially if there's capital involved. And but unfortunately, people are partnering up without seeing who that person is. Just because that person has money, or just because that person has deals, or is a good operator. But what about the core values? It's easier. It's easy when things are going good, but in the middle of the storm, the only thing that makes someone stable and strong is their core values. And the only way to recognize or realize or understand that about other person is dating. Take time, meet your future partner. You know, go to maybe parties, go to a dinner, have time, simulate business, without being involved in business or doing a real deal. I mean, like, do Zoom calls with that person and do the underwriting together and exchange thoughts, exchange, opinions, and see if this is the right partner for you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. What do you think is, in addition to also just sort of the quote unquote dating, what do you think are some things that every partner should be willing to share transparently with each other to really show that good faith component? What is an essential portion of yourself that you ought to share with them?
I think, well, sometimes it's difficult to get that information day one. Even I'm a transparent guy, and I try to be transparent from with everybody. But But there's things that you need to know about me over time that not necessarily the first day I will have the time, or maybe, I'm going to think about it. That's very normal. But maybe I will answer that question. One of the things that I'm doing right now, or I'm doing this very intentionally, is to draft the contract even before we have a deal. Let's say that we had a conversation, you have capital, I have deals, I'm the operator, we are interested in partnering up. Okay, so let's discuss everything before. Let's draft the contract, because once we get a deal, there's no time. You know that you need to jump in the deal immediately, and that's one of the biggest problem, because everybody knows that if you don't wire the EMD in the next couple of days, you're going to lose the deal, right? Because everybody's fighting for that deal. And the problem with that is that once we fund the deal, if now we're going to draft the contracts, there's so many emotions involved that we aren't thinking clearly. I think that it's better. You know what? Let's draft the contract. Let's put the points on the not the points, but the your opinions, my opinions on the table. Let's be transparent. Let's be clear. And once we have the contract already drafted, okay, perfect. Let's find that deal for both of us. And that's something that I've been working on very intentionally recently.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm assuming that for you background check anybody that's going to be a partner with you, and you provide a background check for yourself or something along those lines, right? Because
I do.
you want to make sure that this is just kind of standard fare. You want to make sure that the person you're entering into a partnership with has not been guilty of some sort of crime,
Yeah,
and that
I'm
you're
not.
jumping into a relationship with them.
You know that we underwrite the deal, right? But we need to also underwrite the partner. And it's interesting because, as I mentioned, I've been very intentionally with drafting the contracts before. And it's interesting that when I am approaching the person or the potential capital partner, and I tell them, what my intentions are when, drafting the contract, I have seen some of them, jumping in immediately. But percentage wise, I would say more than 70 and 80% of them, they disappear suddenly. And for me, that's a red flag. And it's interesting because my best analogy to see that in my mind is like, imagine when I was single, I want, right off the bat, having the first date with this girl and letting her know this is, what I would like to accomplish in life. And for those that they were running away, okay, perfect. That I know that she's not going to be my wife. I don't want that as a future wife. And I see that in the same way with partnerships. You want someone that that pretty much match your values, core values, and or the things that you want to accomplish in life. At the end, it's a partner. Probably it's not going to be a partner forever, but for the next couple of years, it's going to be your partner. Make sure that you guys have similar values, or at least agree, with the things that you guys should be agree with.
Yeah. It's like the day I started talking with my wife. I told her I'm only going to date someone if the reason that they're dating is to look forward to the potential of marriage and to figure out if that works. If not, I'm not interested in dating because it's useless. It's pointless. If we're not looking at
Yeah,
partnership, it's pointless.
it's pointless. We're losing time here.
Yeah. I'm not dating for a good time. I'm dating for a purpose. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we're making money here, man. We're doing well. So let's date if we're gonna do the things in the right way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. What do you think are some good questions that every partner should be asking of their prospective partner, um, as to prepare for that potential relationship, to reveal, I guess, is the best way of putting it, to reveal the intentions it's not that everybody's intentions, are wrong if they don't align with yours, but it's so important. I've got a friend who's dealing with a partnership right now that is um, misaligned. They both had a vision to start a business together, but the actual end goal of that end goal of the business is misaligned. One is very
Mm.
satisfied with small, one wants to grow.
Hmm. I think that that is happening very often, and these are, false expectation. And I think that they never set the expectation before, and because of that, one of the a couple of questions that I asked to the potential partner. Well, in my case, I'm an operator. I lend money out, but as an operator, when I'm looking for capital partners, one of the questions that I ask them is that, okay, first of all, are you looking to be only a PML or are you looking to be a PMP, and why? Because sometimes people, they want to be a PML because what they're looking for is to get their money back immediately in a couple of months. And if it's a fix and flip, it's okay. There's no, it's perfect for that. But if it is a long term rental, even a co living or whatever the business model is, it won't make sense. I can't promise you that I can get your money back in 6 months. I can try, but I can promise that this is very rare. It's very difficult to do that. And that's one of the things. The other thing is that, what is the returns? What is the amount of money, the money, the capital that you have to provide, and what is the percentage that you're looking for in terms of return in green and return in white. And what I mean by green, is cash on cash, is cash I would say every month, but returns in white is the return that you see on paper, like the appreciation, depreciation, and the tax write off. Um, yeah, the advantage. Yeah. Also, what specific market are you looking to invest in? I have investors that they tell me, I don't mind. It could be any part of anywhere in the country. But I have others that I had a lady, for example, recently. She's in the DFW market, and she said, "I would like to invest, but only in the DFW market. I will feel more comfortable to do it that way." Um, what else? The business model. Also a very good important question is: do you want to be a passive investor, or do you want to get involved in the business? And I don't mind, but I see some operators, they only want to partner up with passive investors, and that's fine, And I don't mind, but if you want to be involved in the business, now we have to explore or discuss other questions. Okay, are you want to be involved in the business because you're going to help me, support me, or you want to make decisions? And now we're talking. Because if we both are going to make decisions, now we have to draft the contracts in a different way. Or if the person said, no, no problem, you can be the decision maker, but I want to support you. I want to help you. Okay, that's perfectly fine. These are the typical questions that I ask to my partners.
Those are good. That's good. Last question is, how important is it for new investors to take time to establish a strong network within the real estate industry, and what steps can they take to build that kind of that network?
Extremely important. This is a people business, and I have seen people building or trying to build a network over the internet, like Facebook. I'm not against it. I have made so many friends, but I think that is more productive. It's not that one is better than the other one. I think that both are important, but I think that it's more productive. Build your network doing two events. The best partnerships that I have done, the best friends that never become a partnership, but we became very good friends, and we support each other. These are people that I have met in events, in
Mm.
real estate events.
Yeah. Yep. I would second that. I think you can do your initial introductions and things like that with cold outreach and just boldly reaching out to people and networking through Zoom and modern technologies like that. But at the end of the day, nothing quite replaces that ability to meet and shake hands and connect and actually have a chance to be in the presence and really kind of, for lack of a better term, feel the vibrations of that person. How do they behave? How do they handle things? And just get to know them on that kind of level. Those are
Yeah.
things you can't get through a Zoom.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah. You mentioned so many key points that I think that is very rare or difficult to get in on a Zoom call, right? So
yeah,
it has to be in person.
yeah. And I'm glad I got a chance to meet you actually in person. That was awesome. That was a total. I didn't realize I was going to get to meet you there, so that was
Yeah,
fantastic. That
yeah, yeah. That was
was
cool.
good.
That was really cool.
Cool. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your journey and insights in the real estate investing space. Appreciate it.
No, thanks to you for having me, for give me the chance. I think that is very important, to um, tell the audience, the knowledge, in this case, my knowledge, but I think that everybody should be sharing out their knowledge, their experience. At the end, I think that is selfish to, get out of this world and not create a legacy, not only in the family, but with the people that it surrounds you. And this is one of the best way that we can create legacy or impact other people's life.
Yeah. It just it kind of comes down to also the concept of having an abundant mindset, right? These
Yes.
these these things that we've learned don't have to be the world's best kept secrets.
Yeah.
Um, because there's an abundance for everyone. You think about just Abraham Gray, for example. Abraham and Alexis invest exclusively. They lend exclusively in the city of Atlanta, Georgia, and they run out of money
Hmm. Isn't that
in that
crazy?
city. They have an abundance of deals in one city, and
And
there's
they have
room for
millions
other
of dollars
investors.
allocated for it,
Millions of dollars.
and
Uh,
they still run
just
out of
they
money.
run out of money, and then they have opportunities for other investors to come in and join them. So you think of that. That's just a sample of the whole country and the
Yes.
abundance that is there for everyone to, if they so desire, get into this space and begin to work in it and
Yeah.
learn and grow. And we
Yeah.
can all
I
support
love it.
each other along the way too.
I love it. Yeah.
It's great.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And also let us know who you'd like to see as a guest on future episodes of Nursing Real Wealth. Join us every other Tuesday for more insightful discussions. Thank you and have a great day.